Phil hasn't apparently looked at the financial records lately in the car businesses because they're booming. I just want you to know. I also want you to know that this is the only bronze award that I will ever accept. There's something higher in sport, and nothing higher than this, but it would be funny if it was gold anyway. Might be worth more. But I got the sunglasses only because if I have a meltdown. Because if I have a meltdown, I think if you don't really see my eyes, then I'll still be able to talk. I've had meltdowns all day, and it happened before that banquet we had, and it could happen again. It just depends on how much I kind of get into thought, because there's a lot of thought in this head. Not lots of room for added thought, but definitely lots of memories and things that are very emotional. It was like when you brought the 4 daughters up there, you know, it broke me up a little, you know. And then I look out and I see people that I didn't know was going to be here, and now that threw me off a little bit. One of my Olympic coaches, Bill Wick over there, it's just amazing, because I don't know in America if there's another wrestler that has a bronze statue outside an athletic arena. I really don't know. I know there are some in Iran and maybe other places in Russia and things like that, but I don't know in the United States. So that's pretty fantastic. And it's really not just about wrestling at all. And that last statement down there is what it's really about. That's what it's really about. It's not about history. It's about future history. That's what it's about. It's about people that want to be a part of something great in the future. That's what it's about. It's saying, and I'm not saying just to my wrestlers, even though this was to wrestlers, stalling. And believe it or not, I called my own wrestlers for stalling. And that's an important principle to realize. Now, I didn't do it at the wrong time. I would do it at the right time, because I wouldn't want to lose a point or anything like that in a crucial match. But I might do it early in the season, or I might do it when I knew I had the talent out there, when I had the talent to perform better, to execute better than they were. And that's why I would have the referee help me out. I would tell the referee, stalling. And I'd yell, no. And the bottom line is, he kind of looked at me like real funny. And I said, yes, my kid is stalling. Or I would say, that kid, the visitor, the opponent is stalling. But the bottom line is about execution. It's not just athletics. It's about the people that sit in the stands, the people that want to see great events, the people that want to shell out the resources. I'm talking to everybody. I'm talking about the administrators. I'm talking about everybody in the world that wants to have contributions and be a part of it in their lifetime. And I've been involved with lots of contributions in the sport of wrestling and in a lot of other things. And as far as this facility being built, being renovated, it's all a part of that. And people do step up, but sometimes they hesitate. And when you hesitate, you got to think about what you want to be a part of. And if you want to be a part of things that are great, or at least the ability to be great, then you have to be contributors. That's very important for everybody to understand. I really have just lots of thank yous. Just lots of thank yous. And how do you do that? Well, first of all, I just do it when I was born. Okay, born into a family. Family of, I was the 4th. Mom, dad, and a sister. I have to, thank that era. I have to thank the YMCA for between ages of 4 to 12 that really molded me in my competitiveness, in my spirit, and in my ability to really learn great values at that early age. I have to thank my junior high wrestling coach and algebra teacher, Martin Lundvall. I have to thank him for putting me on the right track for academics. I was definitely on the wrong track until that time. I have to thank my high school wrestling coach, and he was the guidance counselor, Bob Siddons. I have to thank him because of getting the training not only on the mat but in my profession. And if you look at the record books, he's at the top of the profession. So I'm kind of lucky. I have to thank my friends at that time that didn't realize that they should know where to pick their girlfriends and things like that. And the reason why I say that is one of my best friends who really didn't want to wrestle me all the time. But every time I saw him, I told him, let's go wrestle. But his girlfriend lived right across my street. And so every time he was over there, I knew he was in the local vicinity, and I'd call him up and go knock on the door, and I'd get him out of there to go wrestle with me. Doug Moses was his name. Still a wrestling coach out in New Mexico. But, you know, he had to go through a lot with me beating him up all the time. Went to Iowa State, and again, I had a national championship wrestling coach, Dr. Harold Nichols. I have to thank Iowa State University, believe it or not. I have to thank Ames, Iowa for 6 years. I have to thank the Peterson brothers that came there and helped train. I have to thank my world championship coach, and who was an Olympic champion, who got killed this year on a motorcycle accident, Doug Blueball. I have to thank my Olympic coaches, Bill Farrell, Bill Wick over here, that gave me what I needed at that particular time in my life. I have to thank Bump Elliott for letting Gary Kurtelmeyer come after me from Iowa State, and I learned a lot about how to go about get recruits because of how they really got me away from Iowa State. It was unbelievable. I mean, there's things that I shouldn't tell. They were legal then, but they're not legal now. Like spies over there and things like that. But I thank Kurtelmeyer. You know, I have to thank Roy Carver. I have to thank the Carver family. I have to thank a lot of people that stepped up. When Roy Carver passed on, the first guy that actually stepped up to help the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, which has been a very valuable tool for Olympic wrestling here and for the University of Iowa Wrestling, which Carver and Kurtelmeyer have the credit for starting. I have to thank a guy named Herb Tyler that stood up and wrote the first check, because nobody wrote the check when Carver was alive but Carver. That was strict orders. He wanted to be the sole contributor, and that's fine. Made it pretty easy. But when he passed on, it made it very difficult. And so now maybe a couple 100, 300 people replaced him for the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, but Herb Tyler was the first guy. You know, I have to thank people like, who's not even here today, but a guy like, there's a farm here locally that a lot of the wrestlers went out and just chopped wood, the Altmeyer farm, and they worked hard on that, and we built the minds and the bodies of athletes, just because, you know, they had these fancy chainsaws, they got these fancy wood splitters, but we made them do it by hand with a heavy maul. And, you know, it was good hard work that really made the wrestlers just that much tougher and put them together in a social atmosphere that was really hard working. And they still do that.